Welcome to the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast, brought to you by our extraordinary friends here at Freedom's Ring. We are so excited to be able to celebrate extraordinary goodness being done right here in our extraordinary country by some truly extraordinary people. It is our sincere sight your spirit, and after listening to today's podcast, that you'll go out ready and excited to do your own extraordinary acts for others in your community. Are you ready? Let's get excited. Yes, I am so excited to be here today, and thank you for joining us. I am so excited to be here today, and thank you for joining us and giving us a little part of your week as we celebrate some remarkable, extraordinary acts for others. I am Sarah Hunold, the founder of Freedom's Ring and the host here at the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast. Just to give you the layout of the podcast, each episode will have a featured extraordinary guest. These are business or an organization that they may have started. Each person is on a different part of their journey, different part of life stages, so you can hear different ideas, different stories on how they got started and how they got going to what extraordinary thing that they are offering the community. What extraordinary thing that they are offering the community. After our extraordinary guests, we will share 2 spirited stories that have made it to our attention. These are viral good news stories that have caught our eye and that we wanted to share in a way to hopefully inspire people to go out and see that they too can be doing extraordinary acts for others. And finally, we will also have an Extraordinary Acts for Others Challenge of the Week. But before all of that, we will always start with 3 things to know about Freedom's Ring. So to start today, we're going to have the 3 most important things that we think about our organization. And these 3 things really lay out the foundation of who we are and what we're about. So the first thing that we think people should know is that we really believe that everyone is extraordinary and everyone has extraordinary gifts that they are able to share. You can share your gifts with your families, with your neighborhood, at school, in your cities, in your communities, on your online communities. All these things added together truly make a more extraordinary America, make a truly more extraordinary family, make a truly more extraordinary shared our gifts and really had a focus on others and doing extraordinary things for others, we would see a change in many aspects of our lives that for the better. But that all starts with the belief that everyone is extraordinary and can already do extraordinary acts for others. This also goes to our second point, that we really believe that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. I think so many people get tied up in not thinking about how they could really be of service because they want to do something big, where all of this is, can I find people who are lonely and I could just talk to? Can I find a way to just be more present with others? That these little extras is how you build something extraordinary. And it's how we make America even more extraordinary that it is by investing. And it's how we make America even more extraordinary that it is by investing in ourselves and doing just a little extra each moment that we can do that. And finally, the third thing is we believe that the spirit of service matters. That at the foundation of our service is a heart. Is a spirit that we want to spread. And so we have a definition for spirit. It's an acronym for us. It stands for stout-hearted patriotism, industriousness, relationships, idealism, and thankfulness. And we'll explain each of these. And it's this burning spirit that we have that we want to spread more of around in our communities. And so that matters to us, and we hope it matters to you too. And so as we go through these extraordinary guests and these spirited stories, we hope to bring that out and show you just why these 5 things really matter to making a more extraordinary America. And that leads us right to our extraordinary guest. It's all about the industriousness today, that spirit of work and dignity of work here. And so our guest today is of Combat Flip-Flops, and their idea is to manufacture their products in conflict zones, providing a job for people in those areas to bring hope. They have a passion for peace, and their idea is, again, business, not bullets. So with that, is there anything that we missed in that, Griff?
For profits to put little girls to school in Afghanistan.
How did this idea come on? What was the inspiration? What brought it here?
Is long and sordid story. There were a few beers involved, but now we both two of the co-founders are Army Rangers, myself and Donald Lee, and we met in 2003, did a couple deployments together, and then got out of the military. And we'd always wanted to be business partners together. And long story, I ended up back in Afghanistan in a combat boot factory, and I was inspired by seeing hundreds of Afghans working, and they were literally like wearing uniforms, learning how to read, learning how to run machinery, and the factory to do it. And I thought, man, this is really going to turn the country around. And then I found out that after the government contracts were going to end, they were going to shut the factory down. And I got kind of pissed. And in that moment of anger, I saw a combat boot sole with a flip-flop thong punched through it. And I just thought combat flip-flops. The domain name was open, and we started a bat flip-flops. The domain name was open, and we started a business. That was it. Yeah, we were going to make flip-flops in this factory to keep it open and keep those families employed.
Okay, and you're an author, a new author of Steps Ascending, The Rise of the Unarmed Forces, and you talked about that in your book. You have a passage that says, "And the entire facility pride, the kind of pride that came from an honest day's work. The type of power that to seep deep into the fabric of a nation and strengthen it within."
I am a new author. This is something I never thought I would be. I've blogged a little bit before, but I've never actually written a book, full story.
Are there other companies?
Full story.
Are there other companies that are doing what you're doing, trying to stoke conflict zones?
There are, and there are a lot of veteran companies as well. So the first ones that we were aware of were Flying Scarves. So it's a bunch of Air Force pilots, and Air Force typically flies out of Bagram, and there's a whole community around Bagram, and there's a whole community around the airbase that supports it. And these pilots somehow took heart for these widowed Afghan women and started, pilots like to wear scarves and look cool, right? So they had these Afghan women start hand embroidering these patterns on scarves, and they were wearing them, and like they look cool, so they started bringing them back and selling them in America, and they support this from airfield, which I think is pretty cool. So those are the first guys. And then second is Rumi Spice, founded by Army veteran Kim Young. So I think she was on the civil support teams in Herat, and she saw saffron farmers losing all the profits to middlemen in the global markets because they don't have access to the market. And she says, this is stupid. We're going to export it direct and put the profits right back into these communities. And within a few years, she is now the largest single employer of women in Afghanistan.
Wow.
Direct importing. So if you want to support a good cause, it helps a lot of people, and you're into cooking, get Rumi Spice saffron.
Would you have come up with this idea if you weren't a combat veteran?
I don't think I would have had the confidence to actually do it. Like these areas I'd say are fairly like scary. I've taken a couple of my friends who've never been in a war to Afghanistan, and it's armored vehicles. If you were to show up there, like a regular civilian, I think it would be very intimidated. But after spending years in that environment, understanding like how to mitigate risk, I think it gave us the ability to do it in a way that other people couldn't. And I think that more combat vets should do things like this.
Is that the biggest barrier to manufacturing? Biggest barrier to manufacturing in conflict zones is, businesses take a lot of risk, but you're taking extra risk on some of this.
No, the biggest risk is selling it to the consumer, to be honest. It's like most consumers are used to buying stuff from China right now, and they can manufacture so much stuff so cheaply. We've just become accustomed to getting high quality goods for a very low cost. And it's just the way that the market has developed. Like, we demand high quality goods at the best price. And when you make things in a developing nation or a war zone, they don't have all of those materials really close to the manufacturer. In a developing nation or a war zone, they don't have all of those materials really close to the manufacturing facility. So it's expensive to move it in. The quality, it gets there, right? It's good quality product, but it's not right out of the gate as good as, a competitor. And so you have to have consumers that are willing to wait a little bit longer, pay a little bit more, and understand that like they're helping somebody out, and that's the value add, not just I got a really cool thing widget for a low dollar cost, right? You got to buy into the mission and helping people get into it. That's the most difficult thing of doing it.
Is being a social entrepreneur or having that greater mission, is that really important for businesses moving forward?
A few years ago, it was the differentiator. But now there's so many companies doing it where people want to see the responsible use of they want to affiliate themselves with brands and companies that are aligned with their value system. And that's just really it. People now have a choice through all the information that they read that, oh, hey, this company, here are their values. I align with those values. I can identify with their product and wear their product. Versus if they don't agree with the CEO taking a huge political stance or whatever, like they're not going to. And then that goes all the way down to philanthropic initiatives. Does a company give toward a charity that I really appreciate? And when I buy this product, does it give toward that charity? And I just think so many companies are doing it now that if you're not on the boat and doing good with your dollars as a company, like you're not going to be a company very much longer.
Being a better human seems to be your bigger mission. You had written something like this again in back to your book. It says, it goes beyond doing good, beyond scrubbing the residue of shame from having done bad. It goes beyond guilt, beyond altruism. It's complex, but not at all complicated. An action which contributes to the betterment, ascending towards being a better human. That is why we're here.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of evolution and constant growth, like personal growth or mission growth or whatever it is. And my favorite song is it's Tool, 46 and 2. And a lot of people don't know the meaning behind the song, but there's 46 chromosome chain, and evolution always comes in twos. So it's 46 and 2. So becoming the next evolution. So like, what are we doing as a species, as the most intelligent life form, to really step forward and help others? And I personally believe it's like we need to extend compassion and empathy, like on a global level. That's how we're going to evolve as a species, is taking those steps. We're going to evolve as a species is taking those steps. So yeah, it's the mission matters, helping other people matters. Like it's where we all need to be headed.
The mission that Combat Flip-Flops has several parts to it. You manufacture in conflict zones, you're educating women, you're employing our families here at home. How do all these connect?
So you can always add value somewhere through the chain. Like you can always be looking to add value. Is one of two ways you get like a cost out of a product, right? Because like we're a product-based company, so always have to think of it. And I think the value that people see in our company is we're just helping people that just need help. And so how through every step of the process can we add a way to help people? And so just, in the manufacturing of our product, how are we helping the communities that we're working in? We can employ women, we can get the factories done. And then we turning back around, like these conflict areas will never get out of this bad cycle of violence if we don't take care of the root cause issue of violence. And for us, that's ignorance and desperation, which is really a byproduct of a lack of education. So for us, like educating the population is the best thing that we can do to end this ignorance and desperation and violence and like all the warfare. And so for us, like the way that we figure that we take care of this is long-term play is that for every product that we sell, we put a girl in school for a day in Afghanistan. And if you want to educate families and communities, you got to educate the women. That's where it starts. So that's what we do.
Okay, let's stay on this point here for a second, because you talk about how important it is to educate women. That you talk about how if you get a woman educated, that is what will get the boys and young men to value education, is just by focusing on the women. How did you come to that realization and focusing on women to be the key to this whole piece?
There's these women that are there, they're widowed and they have infants. And it's the most heartbreaking sight in the world. They're holding their babies, and they're sitting in the middle of like a dusty highway, exiting a nasty traffic circle in one of these cities. And they're sitting there with their babies in between traffic where the traffic slows down at like seated level. They're on their butt and they're just holding their hand up in the air hoping that cars will go by and throw some money at them so they can get food. Like, it's horrible to see. And the reason it's that way is because that woman can't provide for her family because she can't read or she can't write. Like, this is seen 17 years after we've been in there in this country. And I think, like, as a nation, like, we could take care of this problem. Any American would be upset if we said, oh, we spent a couple $1 billion educating every woman in Afghanistan. I don't think anybody would be mad about that.
When you go to Afghanistan, do you get to see this? Do you get to see the girls that you're putting in school?
So to tell you the truth, I haven't been to a school yet. You know, we've been focused on growing as a business, and, you know, we work with Asina. She's actually in the States right now. We're going to see her next month, hopefully at Google. And yeah, we just give to the schools. We have people check in on them and make sure everything's going all right. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be heading there this year. Also, we wanted to go, and so we just haven't been able to make it. You know, the amount of violence that's going on right now is unprecedented, and they're actually attacking education. They blew up the Ministry of Education last fall when we were thinking about going, and it's just, you know, it's tough. I mean, I think the worst thing that could happen for the mission is any one of us get clipped, or any one of our workers get clipped. So we've opted to put the money into production and jobs and education than trips to Afghanistan.
You also do work in other countries too. Can you explain some of that?
Yeah, we we failed miserably making flip-flops in Afghanistan. Just bottom line is you can't make them in Afghanistan. It's just impossible to export them to the global market. They'd be like $130. So it doesn't work mathematically. So we had to find a different place to manufacture footwear. So we started making in Bogota, Colombia. So the Colombians are very similar to Afghanistan, where they've had a narco finance insurgency for 50 years. And it's been in the past 10 years where that country's really made a significant difference, a significant change, following direct military action, followed by government public policy alignment. And they said, hey, they granted amnesty to the fighters, created educational programs for these guys, put them into jobs, and they're turning their country around. And they're the example of what we need to be doing in Afghanistan. So we said, hey, we're going to go work there. And we manufacture all of our footwear is now made in Bogota. We went back to Afghanistan, sarongs and scarves and shamas and shopping bags, and, you know, we make war rugs now. So we make handmade wool rugs there in Afghanistan. We needed more holidays, like gifty stuff for the brand, because it's really hard to gift flip-flops because you don't know people's shoes. And we found a company that was clearing landmines in Laos. And they were turning landmines into jewelry, and for each piece sold clears 3 square meters of landmines. So we partnered with them and made a product for combat flip-flops. And, you know, fingers crossed, we're going to get to work in a Syrian refugee camp here pretty soon, with a bunch of women who are living in tents. Yeah, that's where we work.
Do you think you'll ever grow or expand to Iraq, or is it just too challenging?
No, I went to Iraq last year. I went to Kurdistan, so I spent some time in Erbil and Shaman, and we shot this documentary where we, you know, climbed the tallest mountain in Iraq and skied off the top. It's called Adventure Not War. The tallest mountain in Iraq and skied off the top. It's called Adventure Not War. You guys should check it out if you're listening to it. It's pretty good film. It made Tribeca and Cannes Film Festival and a whole bunch of other big film festivals, but it was a good time. But the whole time we were bouncing around and doing this, there's a bunch of Yazidi refugee camps. There's like all of these places, and the challenge with them is the manufacturing base and getting the materials in. So for them to work textiles in these camps, like, we were looking for knit products, and we were just having a hard time sourcing logistics and finding a product that people would actually want to buy from Iraq. That'd be knit. So we were looking at like coasters and beer huggies and like different things that we could make in these camps, and we just haven't figured it out yet. So we'll see if we can make some stuff in Iraq. But, you know, we have the ability to access those markets, but right now we just haven't been able to find a product that works out sustainably for everybody.
Peace is such a big part of your mission that this is why you're in. This is bullets, or business not bullets, When did you decide that leaving the military and pursuing peace through business would be a better path?
I knew I was going to leave the military when I had my kids. Like, I just had some internal strife between going to war all the time and not growing up around my kids. And then, when I was in, I could see that this war wasn't ending. It was going to take a long time to end. Like, my prediction was 30 years. Like, that's how long it's going to take. And getting out and then traveling back there again and really seeing nobody really working on a sustainable solution. Like, all the programs that we were doing were failing, and they were ignoring that we were doing were failing, and they were ignoring the ones that were working. And so I figured, well, if we're going to end this thing in 30 years, we better get started now. And so we just started working with a footwear factory in Afghanistan, and now it's growing. And we're on our way. Lots of companies are doing it now. So it's happening.
And so are you optimistic about more companies doing this and becoming allies in the unarmed forces, or is that?
I think more people are going to do it. I mean, for example, Amazon bought so much product. They put like 30 girls in school for a year last year, beer huggies and keychains from us. And these are just like little niche things that we can make, but each one of those puts a girl in school for a day. And it's just rad. And so, like, I am optimistic. And so the big companies, they can't take the risk on us. They can't take the risk to go there themselves, but we'll take the risk all day long. Like, hey, it's really not hard. Like, we'll do it. It's really not hard. Like, we'll do it. So more companies are pulling on, and I am optimistic about it because I think we're providing that level of safety.
Well, this all has been really fascinating to me, and it's really extraordinary what you're doing here. Is there anything else that you would like to add, or anything that we've left out? I'll give you the last words here.
Everybody here has the ability to help. If you're listening to this, you can make a change. You can make a difference. It's not hard. So this is where I segue into a shameless plug for the book. But if you buy the book, it will show you how you can make a difference, and you can make a change. It really involve a lot of pain and failure. But like, I promise, it's as easy as buying a book and to figure it out at the end. So the book's available on Amazon. Please leave a review. Follow us on Instagram at Combat Flip Flops. If you want to hit me up, I'm at CFF Griff.
Well, that was extraordinary, and I want to give a big thank you to Griff and his Combat Flip Flop team for making this happen. They are doing some really extraordinary acts for others through their business, both in combat zones and especially Afghanistan, but by also employing veterans and Gold Star wives here at home. Combat Flip Flops was the first to say yes to us, so we really want to thank you to follow them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They're at Combat Flip Flops, and you can follow Griff is at cff.griff. That's CFF Combat Flip Flops. Griff, Griff. So now we head into our Spirited Stories segment. These extraordinary acts for others spread so much spirit in their communities that they reached our eyes, which is often hundreds or even thousands of miles away. So if you see an extraordinary acts for others that excites your spirit, send it and tag us at Freedom's Ring USA, or use the hashtag Extraordinary Acts for Others to bring attention to the extraordinary goodness that you see online or around in your communities. We start in Miami-Dade, Florida, where Leo McLarney, who is a 94-year-old World War II veteran, he survived Pearl Harbor and fought the Battle of Guadacanal. Hurricane Irma severely damaged his home in 2017, leaving huge holes in his roof. And after his story recently aired on the local news, donations came in from around town, and today his new roof just passed inspection, and now they're working on replacing his carpets and painting his walls. Next, we go to Atlanta, Georgia, where Steve Skinner, who was recently told that he only had a few months to live, attended the Super Bowl. It all started because his son was raising money on GoFundMe for his father when Mike Medici, this sweet moment which is surely a difficult time in their lives. The family is now donating the money that they had raised to the glioblastoma research. These are incredible stories here. So now for our Extraordinary Acts for Others challenge. This week, we challenge you to share one others challenge. This week, we challenge you to share one good news story for your network. Research shows that when people see kindness, they are more likely to give, they are more likely to behave and think more altruistically. And that's what Freedom's Ring is all about. That's how we start to get in and celebrate extraordinary goodness that it makes us want to do our own. So thank you for listening today to the Extraordinary Acts for Others podcast. To continue to excite your spirit, hit the subscribe button, or you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Freedom's Ring USA, or you could share it with your friends too. So remember that you are extraordinary and have gifts, talents, and skills to do your own extraordinary acts for others in your community today. So unite with us in a spirit of service. We invite you to enter the ring, become a friend, join our family, and do the extra.